Hang on. Yeah, go ahead, Timothy. Thanks for Skyping in. The floor is yours. Timothy, can you... yeah, there you are. Go ahead and speak. I'm not going to turn my camera on because I'm still on live stream.
Are you talking to me, Steve?
Yeah, I'm talking to Tim. Whoops. Timothy, you got to get better help. I'll call him back. I'm still hot from dancing and playing the guitar. I'm trying to call him right now. I don't know what's going on here. We'll figure. Okay, we're going to figure this out. Here we go. Hey, Timothy, you're on. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm here, Phil. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. Well, just calling in to, give an update to the Children's Crusade. We had the court hearing today. It was the same, business as usual. They're committing capital felony treason. Everything was rigged from the beginning as usual, but heavy presence of deputies, and there was U.S. Marshals there.
Oh, why? Why do you think that is?
I'm really not sure. There was just a lot of heavy law enforcement presence in the building. It was clearly set up in advance. Before the hearing started, what I did is because I know the scheme they're running, I refused to step across what they call the bob.
Yeah, that's stepping into their maritime law circus.
Right. And what I did was I asked the judge, I said, before I step up to the table, I'd like to know, am I walking into a different jurisdiction? And her name is Judge Anne-Marie Rasmussen. She refused to answer the question. She just kept telling me that I had to get up there by the microphone, and I kept asking her, and she wouldn't answer it, and that's because it is Admiralty Maritime Jurisdiction. And, essentially, they're trying to get away with this by saying that I'm stepping onto their ship. Well, what I did was I said, this is under duress. I pointed at every police officer or deputy and marshal and whoever was there. I said, there's all these armed people. I'm under duress. Finally I had to go up to the table, but they won't tell me the jurisdiction, land, air, or water. She said Minnesota is the jurisdiction, and that's just ridiculous. Minnesota is a venue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then what they did was they did another trick, as they usually did, but they got caught. The judge, Anne-Marie Rasmussen, suddenly went into a pretrial hearing which wasn't scheduled. And she did that because I wasn't prepared for it, and she started talking about evidence and rules of evidence, and I'd never been served any notice that told me there was a pretrial hearing that day.
Yeah.
And I can report that a member of a congressional task force and a Minnesota judge, I'm not going to say the judge's name at this time, but it's a Minnesota judge, went into the clerk's office afterwards and confronted the prosecutor, Ronald Gallstead, and asked him if he had ever served me with documents that said there was going to be a pretrial hearing that day, and he said no. So this was, it looked like that part of the scheme was being run by Judge Anne-Marie Rasmussen, but what I will tell you is that a Minnesota judge, called for the arrest of Judge Anne-Marie Rasmussen. So that's really kind of one of the big headlines here, Field, is a Minnesota judge called for the arrest of Judge Anne-Marie Rasmussen. And by the way, before the hearing concluded, I told Judge Anne-Marie Rasmussen 3 times that I told her, you are committing capital felony treason.
Good for you. Good for you. And guess where this recording's going to go before I leave this office? I'll stay here for another 5 minutes after our phone conversation. But before I leave this office, this conversation and this radio show, and I'll know what time, we're at the 2 hour and 22 minute mark. So I'll just to take less of President Trump's time or the Pentagon pedophile task force time, I'll tell them to skip everything prior to 2/18. And if that's not the right time, I will determine the right time. This will go to President Trump and the Pentagon pedophile task force via one stop. And it's interesting. I just played a Christian song called Known Only to Him. And the one stop on the way to the White House is known only to me and him. And so I'll tell you what, I've been pretty much guaranteeing people that we're going to have a victory party. But if we have to go to the courthouse, then we'll have the victory party there after we have the pre-victory party in the Townhouse Hotel in downtown Grand Forks. And I think one of your close associates, who is a female that has something to do with a church, maybe in Blue Earth, I don't know where Blue Earth is, but somebody's already called up to get at least 22 rooms, and you only have to have 9 rooms to get the conference discount. And so we're going to have 22 rooms, and the reason I picked 22 is my vehicles are going to hold 22 people. And we got a lady coming from London, England area. We got people, well, today during the radio show that I'm talking to you on right now, we've had more people commit. There's a lady coming up from Oklahoma that I know. Her initials are DT, like delirium tremors, but she's not delirious and she's not trembling. She and her mother from Little Falls, Minnesota, want to come and be at your victory party. And fortunately for us, the victory party is going to take place on Sunday night, and the hearing that they should cancel. In fact, if there's a single brain in Minnesota other than the judge that you just referenced, that judge that went in and called for the arrest of the female judge, he knows what team you're on. He knows what team I'm on. He knows what team the president's on. He knows what team the pedophile network task force in the Pentagon is on. And the part that they probably just don't get, but God's on our team. And Timothy, God has never lost a battle, and he's not going to start for some flunky faggots up there in Minnesota. And I'm not trying to disparage homosexuals. They may not be homosexuals. I was in a courtroom yesterday gaining victory for Marcy, and I saw some rather flamboyant homosexuals. But see, people like my sister and Hillary Clinton, they put people in positions of power knowing that they really have no power, but they play the part. And that's what your attorneys, and that's what that lady's judge. Now, I want you to pay attention here, Timothy. I don't want you to get me that judge's name, but if you know some woman in Minnesota whose first name starts with a K, and she goes by K blank blank M-Y. If I get the name of that female judge that violated your rights today, I'll turn up the heat on her too. Anybody that comes against you is coming against me, and anybody that comes against us is coming against law, order, and children's protection. And we will win this. So you look pretty good. You don't look tired. You don't look worried. You don't look mad. You look like you're at peace. And John 14:27 says, peace I leave with you, not as the world leaves you peace, blah, blah, blah. So, we're going to win this, and we're going to win it together. And I'm hoping that Donald and Melania will come up with an act of law called the Holmseth law or the Holmseth-McConnell law, because I'm only your wingman. But when I flew airplanes, I didn't get beat very often, and this is so much more important than flying stupid airplanes with fat people that want to go lay on the beach. And that's why when Northwest Airlines tried to play hardball with me, excuse me, there's a fly in the room here. I think we're in very good hands. And I guarantee you, Timothy, that I will send to you and that woman I identify as starting with K, I will send you my email to Donald Trump and the Pentagon. All I will do is I will take the address to which I'm sending it through a cutout. And I think, you're a very good writer, by the way. I have no doubt that's why you won those awards. Also, I know what you need to hear. This will make you feel better. I'm pretty sure you're the number one person. Well, you might be number two if my wife Denise Irene Clark McConnell decides to stay on the board of directors. Everybody's equal. All 12 of you will have one vote, and I'm not going to be on the board of directors. But all of you, for your part-time position, will be paid $60,000 a year. And I don't care if you ever show up at the ranch, because we can do good work like we're doing right now remotely. But I guarantee you, if you show up at the ranch, the Children's Crusade headquarters ranch, that you'll be the most favored guest, with one possible exception. If John Kennedy...
Just a second, Field. I have to open my door.
Okay.
I'm live with Field. All right. Okay. I'm back with you, Field.
Okay. Does the person in your room know that we're broadcasting live?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to say the only person that would draw more attention than you when we have our meeting at the ranch, and you can appear remotely or you can be there, but the only person in the world that would get more favorable response would be John Kennedy Jr.
True that. Yes.
Yeah. Now, if he shows up, you're going to be playing second fiddle. But even if President Trump were to show up, you'd be getting more favor, guaranteed, because so many people around the world are contacting me. And are you this? I don't want to put pressure on you, but do you understand which 3 vehicles I'll be driving up to Grand Forks?
Yes. Well, I know you've got the couple of limousines, and then you got the van, right?
Yeah. And they're all going to have logos on them. And so, at the very least, if you put, no, one of them is a stretch limousine that looks brand new, even though it's a '96. And I don't know if I've driven that car yet. It got unloaded on Monday of this week. But somebody else drove it up to my house, because as hard as I try, I just can't drive 3 vehicles at once. And so I drove the 14 passenger bus, and the hearse is coming, because yesterday my hearse showed up at a courtroom in Ellsworth, and they were trying to recommit Marcy for more psychiatric help. I think the people that think she needs psychiatric help, I think they're the ones that need psychiatric help, and they certainly need spiritual help, because they're working for the dark forces of evil. And if I call them Satan worshipers, I don't think they can prove I'm wrong. See, you can't prove a negative. I can't prove that you're not. If I tried to say I can prove you're here in this room, I can't prove you're not here in this room, which brings up the Christian thought, wherever 2 or 3 are gathered in his name, he's there also. And so I'll get off me and get off my scripture, but it sounds to me like you are reporting to us collectively around the world, and I'm guessing there's 100,000 plus listening. What you just said in your words, I'm going to interpret that in my words. Somebody in the Department of Justice in Minnesota knows they are fucking with the wrong guy. And
they should help you out.
Yeah, no, there's no chance that you're going to be abused much longer. But I'm awfully glad that there's angels. They probably don't want to be referred to as angels, but anybody protecting you is functioning as an angel here on earth. And it's written in Psalm 91:11-14 that God will command his angels. He'll command his angels to protect you because you acknowledge his name. That's all you have to do to get the protection. And, I'm really pleased to hear that and I say we, because everyone knows what you're doing, but nobody knows what I'm doing. And see, that's what scares the shit out of these guys in black robes. They have no idea who I'm talking to or what the contract is. And I mean verbal contract. But you and I know some people in Washington, D.C. who care a great deal about you. And they want to make sure that you have your day in a real court, which is going to be probably a military tribunal.
Yeah, and I won't be the defendant at the tribunal.
No, I know you won't. Yeah. And I've made this offer to one other man ever, and I told a man named, let me just remind, Walter Fitzpatrick. I knew he was being railroaded by Obama because Walter rightfully exposed that Obama was a fraud and that the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Martin Dempsey, was treasonous. And I knew that they would railroad him and put him in prison, which they did. Okay, so now I'm no longer new at this. That was second week of August of 2014. So I've been, let me tell you the funny part. This is, you just mentioned that there's a whole lot of law enforcement in your courtroom.
Yeah.
You know, I hope you don't think this is boastful, but do you know why I think there was such a law enforcement group?
Why?
Because of me. Because my name scares the shit out of these guys, and that's good. When I went down to stand, I was literally standing shoulder to shoulder with Walter before he went forward at the bar and was handcuffed. Okay, so I was the last man standing. But on that day, in August of 2014, the entire city block in whatever town that was, it's a famous town. Oh, Athens, Tennessee. It's a famous town because of the Battle of Athens, which was good people against corruption. I would encourage everyone who listens to the remainder of this show, however short, go to YouTube and look for Battle of Athens. A bunch of white hats, whistleblowers, and patriots got together and they stormed the courthouse and those types of government offices, and they took control of Athens at gunpoint because on their way to the courthouse, they stopped at the National Guard armory and everyone got a loaded weapon. I don't think a shot was fired. If somebody in the chat room wishes to correct me, go ahead. But when good people gather, we overwhelm the bad people. And I'm here to declare, it's my opinion today, that that judge who showed up to ask for the arrest of that female judge, I think he is sort of like the Dutch boy with his finger in the dam. He's the first one to show up as a white hat because he knows in his mind where this is going. And this is going for a reversal in your case where you, the hunted, become the hunter. And guess what? I actually had a book titled Hunter's Wingman. It was the first book I wrote. So you can see the hand of God in this. And for the people who can't see the hand of God, well, you should listen to this radio show more. I'll help people. But enough about me. Over to you, Timothy. I'm very happy for you.
Well, thank you for that, Field. We have a lot of work ahead of us. We have stuff we're working on. There's things we're going to do. I mean, we actually expected this because there is no law. There's no law happening in this. Well, it's not even a courthouse. It's the Justice Center. They know what they're doing. They know that we know, and it's on. It's on. And the thing is I'm the guy that infiltrated one of Jeffrey Epstein's child procurement operations with Clinton Global, and that didn't make me popular with pedophile supporters.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that everybody out there in the country that does not support pedophilia and the rape and butcher of children to get behind the children's crusade, because that's what this is all about. These people are, these are the boogeymen that your mother used to tell you about when you were little.
Yeah.
And I come face to face with them in these fake courtrooms. And, I asked the judge, I stood off for quite a while. I wouldn't cross the bar, and I just kept asking her, well, am I entering into a different jurisdiction? Just tell me what jurisdiction. And, the thing is, I already knew the answer to the question. That's their ship. They want me to enter onto Admiralty Maritime, and they have no jurisdiction over me. So basically what this is a perpetual kidnapping and extortion scheme. And they extorted and, are threatening to kidnap me some more today. That's all they did. And she held a pretrial hearing that I was served no notice of that, and that was done to to catch me off guard regarding evidence. So, you know, it's the same as you would expect this from Satan's helpers, you know?
Yep.
We're not surprised.
Okay. Well, you be of good cheer, and anything I can do, you don't even have to ask me if I'll do it. You just tell me to do it. Okay? I'm inviting you to use me to maximum potential, and you never have to ask, and I'm not afraid of anybody. The only person I'm afraid of, it's not a person, the only fear I have going forward is that I should fall 1 nanomillimeter short of what it is God's asking me to do. And God's asking me to expose evil. And you know, you're the best you're the best horse to ride if I'm supposed to expose evil. There's no better case than yours. And I'm smiling. Yesterday I was in a courtroom and I got you know, they're never ever going to completely back off, but they will reduce things. And I was told yesterday by a position in power that she's not going to be in a hearing next Wednesday, and the system would appreciate it if I, Field McConnell, go pick her up when she's released from the psychiatric confinement that she is ordered by the court. And she's fine with that, and I'm fine with it. But I'm going to try to find out who the most powerful attorney is. And, of course, if they're the most powerful, they may or may not be honest. I don't think you can get power in that game with being honest. But I know I want to intercede for Marcy and her 8-year-old daughter. In fact, I don't want to say her daughter's name. I mean, I don't think Marcy would care, but it's nobody's business. But anybody who likes to pray, please pray that I will not get Marcy in any further trouble. I've gotten her out of the loony bin twice, and in both cases, guess what car I drove?
The limo? The hearse.
Yeah, apparently that hearse sends a message. And that hearse will, I don't think it'll be the lead car, but it's up to you. You can be the stage set. I mean, if you're out to be with us, if you can join us. And if you can't join us, you can call us and you can, or you know that person that's K-I blank blank Y? That person can be on site and tell us where to stage the hearse, the bus, and the nicest 96 Cadillac limousine in the world. We'll put those, they'll all be having Children's Crusade logos on them. And, you know, if the Grand Forks media doesn't want to cover it, that's their choice. It's also, you know, it's bad for them, because what they would be doing is they would be foregoing an opportunity to show that they are interested in the protection of children and vulnerable adults. And that's all we're trying to do here. So go ahead.
I could tell you, Phil, I heard, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard, you know, it's like through the grapevine. I heard that the fraud involving my case, I heard that the drop dead evidence that it's fraud.
Yep.
Like I guess there's some evidence that any American, you know, Mr. and Mrs. America, lickety split. I'm told that in like, well, I suppose it takes 2 or 3 seconds. They're telling me that there's evidence that in 2 or 3 seconds, this evidence will show everybody the fraud. And still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
And so I guess there's some evidence out there that's going to show the American public, like they're not even going to have to think about it. I guess the evidence is that good that I'm innocent. And from what I heard, and I don't know if this is true, but I heard that it might show up on Able Danger. And so I don't know if anybody, I know that you've been saying, you know, that's, I don't know if somebody dropped something off and that fit in the headlight of your Studebaker or whatever. Yeah. I don't know if they did or if they're going to, but I even heard that that you were going to be announcing that this evidence was going to be shown on your show or something.
Yeah, well, I know who you're not referring to, and you don't know how many Studebakers I have. But most of the world knows I have 5 Studebakers, so there's 10 headlights. But you know, if I have 17 memory sticks, I don't put any 2 memory sticks together. And
Oh.
yeah, and I moved the memory sticks because a lot of people, they don't think I'm being honest. I'm as honest as the day is long. But if we want to get into a courtroom which wants anything but honesty, well, not only will I play their game, but I'll beat them. I'll beat them every time. I don't mind going in the courtroom. I went in dressed. Oh, wait a minute! I've got my pink shorts on because I was dancing. It was a victory dance. But I don't go into a courtroom with pink shorts on. But I went in to a courtroom yesterday with dirty blue jean shorts, and I basically beat them because I wanted that lady released. They extracted their pound of flesh. They would not tell me while we were on the record that they'd release her to my custody next Wednesday, the 14th. But one of the players in a private conversation said, there's no way in the world they want you and Marcy back in the courtroom. So they'll create a stipulated agreement and she'll sign it. And then I can go pick her up at the hospital in Amory, Wisconsin next week. Isn't that nice?
I think that's great.
Yeah, and the same's going to happen to you, but it's going to be a much bigger victory in your case because there's somebody that lives, I'm being intentionally vague, but not too vague. There's a very powerful person whose official residence is the Naval Observatory, and I heard a bluebird flew by one of my Studebakers and said, Mike Pence would be well served if Timothy Charles Holmseth was dead. And then, I told the bluebird, I said, Bluebird, fly over Mike Pence's state of Indiana and suffer almost fatal diarrhea. I asked a flock of bluebirds to go shit on Indiana. And there's nothing illegal about talking to bluebirds. So
there's already some turds laying around Indiana. One of them is named Tina Church.
Oh, well, let me...
Specialized Investigative Consultants Incorporated, also known as We Plant Evidence, We Frame People.
Yeah. Well, next time we meet at the Frying Pan Restaurant in Moorhead, Minnesota, let's talk about that person. And I hope in my chat room right now somebody's posting a picture of the Frying Pan. It's right on the edge of Moorhead and Dilworth. And it's really a good restaurant. And, of course, attorneys are too snobby to go in a place like that because they have good food at a good price. And so we'd be safe. There would not I know some of the attorneys in Fargo who think they're powerful. Let me just name one. I'm trying real hard. Judge, well, I dealt with a judge named Norman Bacchus once. And I was in the witness box because I was being hammered in a divorce setting. And I was talking back to the attorney in such a way the judge, Norman Bacchus, started laughing. That's not the one I'm talking about. There's a judge in Fargo on the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals that has an unusual name. And he made the mistake of telling me some stuff in confidence one day. I was in my airline suit, and he knew who I was, but he didn't know what capacity I have for recall. And he may find out someday. Anyway, as far as that evidence that has been left in my office already, I had a lady come in, and she hopped out of a milk truck today, and she said, "Did you order 2 gallons of whole milk?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Oh, well, here's something else you might be interested in." And then the milk truck drove off. Yeah, so
interesting.
So next time somebody asks you if you've got milk,
you want to go on? Hey,
what?
Boy, do I have a surprise for the Able Danger Show.
Yep, go ahead.
Congressional Task Force member, Sam Kirk Pendergrass with E-Class. I'll let you do your. He needs no introduction. He actually, many people know. I'm going to set it over to you. I got to go to that. Okay. I'm going to say one thing. This the man that you're going to see now.
Yep.
This is the first man in my life that I ever saw stand up and tell a judge to his face, "You're committing capital felony treason." Okay,
I think I know who this guy is, but go ahead. I think I know who he is.
No, I don't think you do.
Okay, good.
And that's why I got the courage to do it today.
Yep.
And I was going to say something else about you too, but anything good? Well, nothing good. Yeah, something else slipped my mind out. It was going to be in the introduction, but he doesn't need an introduction. This is the guy that, one of them, that is put the fear of God in these satanic creeps.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm going to hand it over. You introduce yourself.
All right. How are we doing, sir?
Well, you're the sir, not me, and we're both trying to protect Timothy, and we will succeed.
Yes, we will.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm Kirk Pendergrass with E-Clause.
Okay.
So we're the congressional task force that you guys are talking about.
Well, good. Thank you for being there for all of us.
You bet. This is what we're doing now. Is we were created by the consent of Congress to go after bad actors in government who trespass the law for emoluments violations. So
Okay.
we're loss prevention. We have loss prevention in the private sector, but where is loss prevention in for the government, on behalf of the people? Didn't have one up until October of 2017.
Okay, and that was 9 months after Donald Trump took over.
Yes, sir. We were created based off of the executive order from March 13th, 2017, the complete audit of the entire executive branch. And CEO of E-Clause, worked in loss prevention at that time for 27 years in the private sector.
Okay.
So he looked at the Constitution and said, well, here's this word, emolument, and was like, well, I know what that word means. It's any advantage, profit, or gain received due to one's position of employment or holding office.
Okay.
Okay, so that's a lawful payment, right, for services rendered.
Okay.
But those payments must be, the services rendered must be lawful in accordance with the law, full of law.
Okay.
So this is the problem we have is where is the protection, equal protection under the law for the people?
Okay.
So this is how we got created, and the fact that the bar essentially isn't even supposed to exist in our 3 pillars of law in our form of government.
Yep.
We're not a monarch.
You said former government, right? Oh, you said form of government.
Form of government. We're
Okay.
a constitutional republic here. We're not a monarch.
Yeah. No, I understand.
And we're not. We don't have 5 pillars of Islam in our form of government either.
Okay.
Okay. So in our 3 pillars of law, we have the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch. That's it.
Yep.
Now, what I get at, that's 3 pillars. In a monarch, you have the king, you have the prince, you have the parliament, and you have the bar.
Okay.
Then, at the root of everything is what we've been fighting against is that what our founders in 1775 called it was a ministerial army. That's why our founders in July 6, 1775, in the Declaration for the Causes and Necessity of Taking Up Arms, was because of this ministerial army, which is the bar.
Okay.
So this is in the Practitioner's Judicial Report that was written, which created E-Clause, that was filed April 11th, but less than 30 days after that executive order came out. So this is how E-Clause got created. First claimed that it was a monopoly. They're not even supposed to exist. We submitted the original 13th article, Article 13, which is the Titles of Nobility Act,
Yep.
which was ratified in 1819, and then just mysteriously disappeared in print, in 1870-ish, somewhere in there. But that's due to the Reconstruction Acts. So that's not lawful. It's not part of our form of government. That's the reason why we declared our independence, which is actually the Lee's resolution that did that. That was June 7th? June 7th, 1776 was the Lee's resolution, ratified July 2nd, 1776. Everybody talks about the Declaration of Independence as what's declaring us from independence from Great Britain. That's not true. It's declaring our independence from tyranny. Those are declared acts of tyrants, our sworn and declared enemy. So when we read the Declaration of Independence, that list of those facts submitted to a candid world is characteristics and conduct that is repugnant to a republican form of government.
Okay. I understand everything.
That's giving aid to our enemies.
Okay, I want to ask you one question. Oh, you're still talking. When you stop, I'll ask you a question.
Go ahead, shoot.
Do you have any idea what went on at Ton, T-U-N, Ton Tavern in Philadelphia in 1775?
I think I had too much to drink that day.
You know, that you weren't there, but you could have been. The United States Marine Corps was formed, okay?
I thought that was September 7th, 1776.
Oh, is that when it was?
Yep.
So you're familiar with Ton Tavern?
Not familiar with that name or anything like that. I served in the Marine Corps, so
that's where I was going.
Marine Corps birthday is September 7th, 1776.
Yeah, that's where I was going, because I was judging. Now, according to Matthew 7:1, we're not to judge, but God does give us powers of discernment. And I'm sitting here looking at you, and I'm thinking there's another guy from Ton Tower in this fight, Ton Tavern. But I was in the Marine Corps too, and I don't want you to think that I think I'm smart, but when I was 27, I realized I was going nowhere in the Marine Corps, and I thought I could go out and freelance it and be a lot more effective in taking down evil. You know, the Marine Corps, I love it. In fact, it's, as you well know, that it's a terminal condition. And once you're a Marine, you know, I went to the Air Force and flew for the Air National Guard. It's sort of like what do you call that, ultimate fight club? It's sort of like an ultimate fight club guy going into a homosexual bathhouse. So when I went from the Marine Corps to the Air National Guard, I wasn't immediately welcomed.
Right.
But I was immediately effective. And I really enjoyed my time flying for the Air National Guard. But you know, what I'm doing today with you and with Timothy is 1,000 times more important to God and to the people of the United States of America than anything I've ever done on any day of my life. And I've done some interesting things. But today is like it's like a prenuptial deal. You and I and Timothy, and I don't mean you personally. I mean, I do mean you personally, but not limited to you. From your task force all the way up to the White House, that's who is going to defend American citizens. That's a bad word, but Americans. That's going to defend children. That's going to defend vulnerable people, and it's going to defend the rule of law, not the rule of tyranny and pedophilia.
Bingo. Yeah. That's Sharia law. That's Islam.
Yeah. Yeah. We have no place for that here.
Nope.
Look what it's done to England. My wife's from England. Oh, by the way, this is a question I'm asking, but I do not want an answer. I want you to consider it, and Timothy will answer me later, because, you know, I might have another milk truck come up, and some lady asked me if I needed, 2 gallons of whole milk, and I'd say no, and maybe she'd have some other stuff for me. But if you're hanging around Timothy on the evening of the 25th of August, I'm rolling into town with a hearse. It seems to have a very motivating effect on judges. When my hearse rolls up to the courthouse, I'm not trying to threaten him. I'm just trying to say that I'm representing God in the courthouse, and if they want to harm me, you're just going to find out who has more power, you or God. And some people take... When I was in the Marine Corps, I was considered a Hollywood Marine because I was on the West Coast, and I was considered something else because I was an aviator. But what was your MOS?
I was 0131, unit diary clerk. I was a computer guy, put everybody's information in the computer.
Okay, now we're going to do some really good work right now, totally unscripted. Are you familiar with the Colonel James E. Sabow murder of January 22, 1991?
No, I probably should, because that's when I was in.
No, but somebody like you, 1131, is that what you said the MOS was? 1131?
0131.
0131. Okay. George H.W. Bush ordered the assassination of Colonel James E. Sabow. And guess who? One of the first persons they killed, besides the intended, was the unit, whatever clerk you said you were. They
clerk.
Yeah, because he had too much information.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's only one guy for the whole entire unit that touches that computer, and that was me.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to have Marines like you because, you know better than I do that sometimes among the 5 services, there's really only 4 military services. The Coast Guard works for Treasury or somebody else. But anyway, it doesn't matter. They're good servants too. But one thing that Marines are not generally considered good at is there's a lot of people who say dumb Marines. Well, try saying dumb Marine to a dumb Marine, and you'll find out that you need 32 new teeth because that just doesn't float. And what I used to do when I was a pilot for Northwest and Kazakhstan, when I'd walk through the airport, most frequently is the Minneapolis airport, and it's around a holiday, so you got a lot of young enlisted men and women going back and forth to their hometown. And if I had time to kill, I'd walk along, within 6 or 8 feet of any Marine I saw. And I was there because I look like an authority figure when I'm wearing a Northwest uniform with gold stripes, so people think you have authority, which I don't. God does. But anyway, if I ever heard anybody say anything unkind to a Marine, they'd be going to the dentist. Yeah, because they need 32 teeth. So I guess what I'm trying to say in a respectful Christian way is, if you fuck with one Marine, you're going to be fucking with all of us.
That's right.
Yeah, and by the way, among the intelligence services, there's 18 intelligence services in the United States of America, and most of them just jockey for budget. They want to get more budget than their counterparts. And in doing so, a lot of them become sort of counterproductive. But the United States Marine Corps Intelligence Branch is perhaps the most respected among the military branches. And when I learned that, and I was only in the Marine Corps 6 years, but 6 years of treatment takes care of a lifelong of illnesses. And I consider myself a Marine. God considers me a Marine. And I'm going to throw a expression at you that I coined, but everyone knows what a Christian soldier is. And the world is going to find out what Christian Marines are like. Marines have, what do you think of that? I sort of coined that myself.
Well, it's right out of the Declaration of Independence. It's not only a right, but it's our duty.
Yeah.
To alter, reform, or abolish anything at any time we deem it necessary. It's not just a right, it's a duty to maintain our form of government. Right? Because it's we're self-governed.
Yeah.
That's what it says.
Yep.
The Declaration of Independence is part of the law of this nation called America.
Yep.
We have a hierarchy in law.
Yep.
And in order, a lot of people don't know this part about law, but in law we have what's called creating a nation.
Yep.
Nations aren't created every day.
Yep.
Okay? The last time a nation, technically speaking, was created was when we created America.
Okay.
So what is the process for creating a nation? Well, you have to lay down the law of the nation. You have to declare the ideology of the nation. And ideology comes from a book. The book is from the religion. Every nation has a religion as their ideology.
Okay.
And ideology, set of ideas. What are those set of ideas? Those set of ideas are morals and principles. I like to use 2 + 2 = 4. I don't know any man on this planet who disagrees with me that 2 + 2 = 4. Why? Because the fundamental principles of mathematics dictate the correct answer every time.
Yeah.
If you can't go 2 + 2 = 4, there's something wrong with your brain.
Yep.
That's logic and reason. Mathematics is logic and reason. Those symbols represent principles. Mm-hmm. So the principles of this nation, the ideology, morals and principles of this nation is the first fundamental principle is do no harm. Do not cause injury and harm to your fellow man. If you cause injury and harm to your fellow man, then you have a right to a cause of action, to act in defense. We're not supposed to be using force and violence against our fellow man.
Yep.
That's right out of the Virginia Declaration of Rights, declaring our ideology of this nation, which was June 13th, 1776. A lot of people don't know what these documents are, but you have to declare your ideology.
Yep.
And the Virginia Declaration of Rights is the one that declares the theoretical foundation of all government. So, in that document, Section 16, Christianity. That's right, Christianity is our ideology of this nation. It is the law of this nation.
Yes.
It comes before all other law.
I'm glad to have you express that, because I know that too. And I hope to meet you. And I'm easy to meet, even if I'm going to tell you something that's going to sound like I'm kissing your ass, which I'm not. But I don't know how old you are, but you bear a strong physical resemblance to my eldest child, whose name is Cole Ryan McConnell, age 36. And I'm guessing you're older than 36, but I don't know that. But
yeah, I'm a little bit older than that.
Well, I'm going to send Timothy an email with a picture of my son, and even you will see the resemblance. And oh no, it's like I'm sitting here talking to my son, but I'm actually talking to my mentor, because I'm elevating my important database, because you're teaching me stuff I didn't know when you sat down. But one thing you can ask Timothy later on when you guys are sort of relaxing. I make a pretty lethal wingman. Now, you were in IT and I was in flying, and most pilots are snobs and they always want to be the leader. Honest, I've been there. I've been there in the Navy, the Marine Corps, and the Air Force. Everybody wants to be the leader. I was sometimes forced to be the leader, but I always wanted to be the wingman.
That's me.
That's me too. That's me.
I've always said I'm a good right-hand man.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I don't necessarily want to be here, but at this particular point in time, with where we are in history, and we have to seize this opportunity. And I don't know if you're familiar with Carl Miller. Carl Miller says, well, somebody ought to do something about that.
Mm-hmm.
Be a somebody. So this goes right back to the fundamental principles of our nation, is we have not only the right, but the duty to do this. We are duty bound.
Yep.
And those of us in the Marine Corps and are taking, not just the Marine Corps, but in any service, right? You take that oath.
Yep.
And I take that oath seriously, to defend this nation, America, from foreign and domestic enemies. Those enemies, the characteristics and conduct of our enemies is declared in the Declaration of Independence, and it's ordained and established in the constitutions.
Yes.
That's not statutes. No.
Yeah, our Skype is getting a little fragile. That's all. You're doing.
Yeah, our internet connection here.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm going to hold up a cup. It says Children's Crusade. Is there any prohibition against me giving you one of these cups when I don't meet you?
Right?
Timothy, can I give him one of these Christian Crusade cups?
You have my blessing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to place an order today for about 30 cups, 30 caps. In fact, I don't have my cap on. Let me find out. Oh, I was dancing earlier. The victory dance. I've lost custody of my own cap. Okay, I'll worry about that later. But I'm bringing caps, T-shirts, coffee cups to the victory party. And see, to me, it doesn't matter if we have victory by the 25th of August or if we force victory on the 26th of August. The team assembled for the benefit of Timothy Charles Holmseth, for the country and the world's children, and for the United States of America. This team will not suffer defeat, because we just don't do that. We impose victory, and the people in the courthouse, they can either have victory offered by them to us, or they can have the Constitution and the Virginia document and all of these things rolled up and stuck up their ass, and we're not going to give them any lubricant. So if they get a staple in the anus, that's their problem. We're giving them fair warning. We're coming for you, and we're coming established and duty bound by the founding documents of this United States of America. And by the way, foreign enemy, we don't have any real enemies that are foreign. Right now, Russia, China, and the United States are working on making war obsolete, but if somebody wants to bring it, we'll show you how to win it.
That's right.
Yeah. So
we're supposed to act in defense.
Yes,
right?
That's right.
Even God tells us, to turn the other cheek.
Yep.
But which cheek are we talking about here? Because, slap me once, I'm going to turn the other cheek. You slap me again, I'm going to knock your teeth out.
Yeah, that's sort of what I said twice. You'll need.
Right?
Yeah. People, these people that are attorneys and judges are not overly bright. So I just want to say this one more time while we're on the record. You fuck with one Marine and you'll be fucking with all of us Marines. And Marines win or die. They do not lose. They win or die.
We adapt and overcome.
Can I throw something in there, Field?
Please do.
This is Tim.
Yeah.
I can assure you there's one judge that was quite bright, and that judge today called for the arrest of Judge Anne Marie Rasmussen right in the clerk's office.
Yep.
So there's one for sure. Now I know that there's got to be some more good ones. I don't think that they're all satanic.
Well, it's just sort of like the Army and the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps goes in first and secures the territory, and then the Army comes in and holds it. So you've already got your Marine judge, and there's going to be a lot of Army judges falling into the parade. And they're not going to fall in to fall out. They're going to fall in to gain victory.
Mm-hmm. There's one other thing, Field, and I'm going to be very limited on what I tell you, but I can confirm this now. Shortly after the hearing took place in Polk County, Minnesota, I already have information from our Washington, D.C.
friends.
I'll say that, from Washington, D.C. I'll leave it at that. That I heard something that I was very, very happy to hear.
Well, that's very, very happy not to know what you know, but I know. In fact, there's a Christian song known only to him. I don't know the future. Let's see. I know not the future. I know not what the future holds, but I know who holds the future. It's a secret known only to him. Let this come out of my mouth for everybody's benefit. It's no secret of who's involved with Timothy Charles Holmseth, and I'm not referring to myself or the other Marine right there, but myself and that other Marine could kick their ass from here till next Wednesday with no help from anybody because of our knowledge and our duty.
Yep.
So you're in good hands. You're in very good hands, Timothy. And can your Marine friend see my hat?
I had you up, but we can't see.
No. But you know the Children's Crusade hat? Cap?
Oh.
Yeah. I was going to ask him what color he would like, red or blue, because of his dress pants. But you know what? I think I'm going to bring a red one for you because Marines, if Marines are caused to bleed, somebody else is going to bleed to death. That's just the way it fucking is.
Mm-hmm.
So, don't strike a Marine. Don't strike a child. Don't strike a woman. Don't strike an innocent party. But if they strike you, strike back and make it hurt.
Well, that is what they train us to do, right?
Yeah, and I'm pretty well trained. Now, I know that most real Marines think that most pilots are candy asses, but not Navy and Marine pilots. Navy and Marine pilots, if they show up, they extract a price. And there's example after example after example of the dedication of Marine and Navy pilots, period. If they're there, they win. And if somebody gets one of them, we'll get 6 of theirs.
Right.
Yeah. So Pappy Boynton, you've heard that name. Pappy Boynton was a Marine fighter pilot in World War II who was an alcoholic and a pugilist. Now, most people in a courtroom don't know what a pugilist is, but I bet you do, and all Marines are pugilists. My father was in POW camp with Pappy Boynton, and then there was a wonderful book and movie called Unbroken, and then my dad was he also was in the same death. They didn't call it a prison camp. They called it a death camp. When somebody got sent to Ofuna, the reason they were going to Ofuna was Japan wanted them dead. Well, my father didn't die. And, I'm going to be dead someday, and I welcome it because I'm tired. I've been working 18 hours a day for 12 and a half years, but I'm doing my very best work ever right now, talking to a fellow Marine and an innocent victim. And Tim, when the shit hits the fan, you go pull the plug on the fan and don't try to get into the field of fire. We'll handle that. Okay?
Mm-hmm. I've already, I've had the great pleasure of witnessing what you Marines can do. Then there's Kirk decided to go ahead and stick his face out there today, but there's others that you can't see. And I feel entirely safe.
You are. You're in the best of hands. And the best, there's a wonderful Christian song called One Pair of Hands. And one of the lines in there that makes me cry is that one pair of hands can save everybody, and yet that pair of hands was nailed to a tree. Well, okay, come try to get the rest of us. You nailed our leader, and now we're going to defend everyone who acknowledges our leader.
Well, isn't Jesus supposed to be in all of us?
Yep, he wants to indwell our spirit.
So my first name is Kirk, which literally means church.
Oh, interesting. I just learned something else.
Mm-hmm.
My first name is Field. And if you've seen things like Field of Fire, it's a good name for a guy who was once a Marine. And I'm going to bring something to Grant. Is there any chance that I can be within your field of vision and hearing for 3 minutes if I come to Grand Forks?
You bet.
I'm going to bring you my Naval Academy ring, which I never wear because I'm ashamed of there's most Academy graduates are somewhat patriotic, but we got some heavy-duty traitors from Annapolis, and that's where I wear my wedding ring because no matter what the future holds, the other half of this wedding ring will always hold my heart, just maybe not quite as tightly as God holds my heart. But I'm going to bring you my Naval Academy ring so you can hold it in your hand and you can read what it says on the inside. It says, Field McConnell, Marine. That's fair.
Well,
Go ahead.
I know you know this, but the Marine Corps is a division of the Navy.
Yes, I know that. In fact, do you know historically when they had four-masted schooners that they had quadrifoil hats on the Marine officers? Or quadrifoil? And that's so the Marine gunners up in the mast and up in the sails and going up and down ropes, they could look from their lofty perch where they project force, and they could make sure, unless they had a bad Marine officer, they wouldn't shoot anybody with a quadrifoil. And Marines don't like to kill people. I've never met one, and I flew with a sniper. I was on a C-130. When I flew C-130s, that was my punishment. I got kicked out of a fighter squadron, and I had to go fly rubber dog shit out of Hong Kong. But when I was on that C-130, I flew with a Marine Corps sniper, and he was very interesting to talk to. And that sniping thing's got to be a real emotional tug because that you're going to be. In fact, let me think of I got to think of what this guy's name was. The most successful sniper ever up through Vietnam. Had a really funny name, but he was pitted. He was assigned. Oh, they called him White Feather because he wore a white feather in his hat, so all the other Marines would know that's the sniper. And then the bad guys, and see, we don't really have any bad guys. We have bad governments. There's no North Vietnam guy that wants to hurt an American. There's no U.S. Marine that wants to hurt a guy from North America. I can almost predict my place in history. I'm going to be the single person that makes it his point to educate the enlisted people. I could give a flying fuck about the officers. They're on their own. If they want to be bought out and be given corporate six-figure incomes, I don't want any part of that. But there's so many good enlisted people from in World War II, age 15. My dad joined when he was 15. He joined the Marine Corps. His mother's bridge partner squealed on him and said, "Hey, you got a guy named Glenn McConnell? He's only 15." So he got kicked out. And then he went in and signed up on December 7th. he was a newspaper boy in L.A., and he read the headlines, and he said, okay, that's it, I'm back in. And he got into the Army, became a pilot, all that other happy horse shit. But I would like it if somebody somewhere remembers that I'm the guy that wants to let the enlisted forces, the projectors of force and the maintainers of intelligence, I want all of those enlisted people from every nation know that they have no natural enemies and they should not suffer a wound or PTSD or shed any blood for bankers and corporate elites. I'll shed every drop of blood I have for a single child. If I walk out of here and I see some guy looking at a 7-year-old, I'm going to go over and stand right in that guy's face and say, what are you looking at?
Hey, Phil?
Yeah.
Being we've got your the Children's Army, or the Children's Crusade, excuse me, and we got your listeners out there. Could I invite Kirk to tell everybody a little? Can you tell them a little bit about these executive orders by the president? I don't think most people understand what President Trump laid out, and I don't think people get it. Can you talk a little bit about them?
Yeah. So I mean, part of what we've done in the background here with E-Clause is following what Trump is putting out, and I don't want to say that we were directly influenced in it, because I remain skeptical all the time. Mm-hmm. But as I've been working with the CEO of E-Clause over the last 2.5, almost 3 years now, it's hard to say that this didn't have an effect on this stuff. But after the audit, March 13th, 2017, Jeff Sessions came out with the prohibition on the use of guidance documents. That was the Attorney General at the time. That was, it was in June of 17. And then December 21st, I think? No, December 10th, Trump reestablished the rule of law, the Declaration of Independence, Constitution of the United States of America, and the Bill of Rights. That's by proclamation. December 21st, the executive order on going after those involved in serious human rights violations, human trafficking, and corruption. It's called blocking and seizing the property, right? Blocking the property of. But you got to read the executive order, and what Trump said he's going after is those involved in serious human rights violations and corruption. So after that executive order, that pretty much concluded 2017. And then he dug up the executive order from 1985 on the manual for courts martial and made amendments to that. And that was March 1st, 2018. And that basically all came effective January 1st, 2019. So basically, the big picture here is if you're involved in serious human rights violations, human trafficking, and corruption, you could be subject to military tribunals and sentenced to death by firing squad, because that's how it's done in the military. So, essentially, Article 6, Clause 3 makes everyone bound by the Constitution, right? By law. Whether you're the legislative branch, executive branch, or judicial branch, you shall be bound by the oath of reclamation, both federal and state. So that puts you under admiralty jurisdiction, just like, in the Marine Corps, whatever branch of government. You're bound by the Constitution. You're bound by admiralty jurisdiction. So you can be court-martialed if you're a state legislator. You could be subject to court-martial if you're a city prosecuting attorney, or pretending to be a judge when you're just an administrator in a military tribunal. They're not shy about it. They fly the admiralty jurisdiction gold-fringed flag in these courtrooms. So you're in admiralty jurisdiction. Plain and simple. So you guys want to play admiralty administrative courts? Great. I'm going to subject your ass to it. You're bound by it. I'm going to hold your ass to it. You're going to go through a military tribunal.
Can I speak like a Marine?
Please do.
Yeah.
Don't you always?
Yeah, well, I do always. when I'm speaking for God's
Except
benefit.
when you don't.
Yeah, if we go into a courtroom together, me and you, Kurt, would you grab the flag and rip it off the pole so I can take the flagpole and shove it up their ass?
Without lubricant, right?
Well, as long as the CO says that's okay.
Well, anybody who has legitimate authority over me knows that I will honor their authority. But if they turn me loose, and I'll just stop right there and say, God turned me loose. But that's not to say somebody that tells me, to let them do the thinking. Great. I'll let them do the thinking. But if somebody needs physical defense, then I'll say thinking's not working. So Kurt, rip that flag off the pole so I can shove it up their ass without lubricant.
Right.
And that's what we're doing here right now. We are defeating them with the truth.
Hmm. Now another executive order there, I think it was July 1st, 2018. The Joint Task Force on Consumer Fraud. Now, if you understand that there's two parts to human trafficking.
Yep.
We have the physical, sexual side of things, right? Part B is debt slaves, peonage, the money side of things.
Yep.
So I don't know if you're familiar with the Sestake Act of 1666, the Sestake Trust.
Yes, I've heard that, but it's an interesting year because 1666 is evil plus 1,000.
Bingo. So by evil design, here's a maxim of law. The malicious designs of men must be thwarted. That's part of our corporate mission statement for E-Clause.
Yep.
So the malicious designs of men must be thwarted. This is an evil design.
Yep.
To traffic people.
Yep.
Around the world. This isn't just a United States of America thing. The birth certificate, the Social Security number. Basically, the birth certificate is a bill of lading, and the mother comes to the hospital, the doctor.
Yep.
And abandons the child there, and that's what they consider is the mother has abandoned the child at the dock.
Yep.
And the doctor, on admiralty jurisdiction, claims that, and the state under parens patriae, which is Old English,
yep.
Latin for the state is the parent. So this is where the state comes in and claims the child,
yep.
And your parents give that up through this birth certificate, which is a bond. It's written on bond paper.
Yep.
Okay, it is an actual bond. And then they trade you out on the market, but this is what creates the Sestake by trust, the individual trust.
Yep.
And it's in trust to the state.
Yep.
And so this is where they take away all of our God-given rights, natural rights, creator-endowed rights, and say, well, we're going to subject you to these de facto kangaroo courts. And those are actual legal, lawful terms. A de facto is without fact.
Yep.
In law, factually, these courts don't exist. That's why they're de facto. And then kangaroo is actually in Black's Law Dictionary. It's where they just don't recognize any of your rights. Well, that's because of the Sestake Trust,
yep.
of your birth certificate. So we were basically sold off, not even sold, traded off into slavery with the signature of our parents on the birth certificate. So, that's why it's a scheme, scam, and a fraud, because at this particular point in time, if parents go in and have a child in a hospital, they say you have to sign this document.
Can I point something out? Can I point something out that you know but you didn't mention?
Go ahead.
Birth, B-I-R-T-H, is a human baby coming out of the reproductive side of a female. Birth, B-E-R-T-H, is where a ship hits land and you're changing. Once you get off the ship, now you're on one LAW, land, air, water. We don't do air anymore, so land or water, maritime or admiralty law, or natural law, God's law, the law of the land. And, I think in this brief conversation that we've had, Kurt and Timothy, let me look at my clock. Oh, we may have been speaking for almost an hour and 15 minutes, I'm guessing. But we've just ended this battle now and forever. They will never undo what we've just done.
Mm-hmm.
And I made the promise to my chat room, and by the way, we're still live, and I'm not in the chat room because I'm focused on Kirk, because I'm learning. And the point is, none of us know everything, but we all know something. And if we who call upon the name of God volunteer our services to serve Him and serve humanity, He will answer, and He'll give us the task. But I would caution people from praying like I did, because I was about ready to be, from the worldly standpoint, have the best flying job in the United States of America. But I accidentally exposed the truth of 9/11 from a pilot's perspective. And fortunately, I did it during the Christmas break of Congress, so they didn't figure out what I knew about 9/11, because they're out there with their constituents getting drunk and engaging in deviant sex acts. So by the time I went zip, in fighter pilot talk, it's called a snapshot. What happens, a snapshot is when somebody else on the enemy team just happens to fly right in front of you and he doesn't see you, and then you take a snapshot and kill him.
Yep.
And that's sort of what, I mean, that's what we're doing right now. We're giving a snapshot to those people that would abuse the law, that would abuse children, that would deny us our God-given rights. And I'm going to go out on a limb right now with God as my guide and with Trump as my president, and said, this is over. We will be there celebrating victory on the 25th, which is a Sunday, and we're going to be having a great big global prayer meeting. And that's what we did today. We didn't have a regular radio show because the father of a fallen SEAL, when Obama ordered Extortion 17 to be shot out of the sky, which he did, and that's sickening, but he can be somewhat forgiven because he's not an American. Obama is not an American. No, and I'm not afraid to say that. In fact, I have a hearse that's got Obama's real name in the windows on steel signs with Barry Swatero, Punahou 79. See, I went to Punahou too, and I'm not proud that I went to Punahou. I'm blessed because it's got Punahou as a high school brings more power than most colleges. If you know, in other words, if there's a wedding, let's say Kirk is getting married for the third time, and he's marrying a girl named Melinda. Okay, Kurt and Melinda, when they say the parents of Kurt and Melinda have announced the engagement of their children, Kurt is a graduate of Punahou School. He also graduated from MIT, Scripps, California Polytech. You see, there's more power in Punahou than there is in the Ivy League schools that you can buy a piece of paper from, or in the case of Obama, you don't even have to go there. They'll give you a piece of paper because they don't realize some Marines are going to roll it up, shove it up your ass, which is exactly what we're going to do.
Yeah, I actually have a copy of the writ of quo warranto that was done, I believe it was Blair Whitney on Obama.
Yep.
Which has all of the documents in there that shows Obama's not a natural-born citizen.
Yep.
You know, how they doctored the alleged birth certificates. All the evidence is in there.
I'm going to, I don't know if you'll ever email me, but I'm going to email Timothy some information that I've been broadcasting, and that is, have you ever heard of the person involved in the birth certificate named Loretta Fuddy? Okay, she allegedly died in a plane crash off Molokai, and all that was the single time in history that every weapon that the United States government can bring to bear, they all worked to try to protect Obama from the... See, the sheriff in Arizona was hot on his track, and so they had to kill Loretta Fuddy because she was a powerful person in a cult, and she's the one who made it sound like Obama was an American. And of course, Obama was never an American. He was not a Kenyan. He was born or birthed. He was birthed, I believe, and I've never been corrected, but I feel free to correct me. I believe he was born at Peace Arch Hospital in White Rock, British Columbia. Now, that contradicts the Indonesia thing, it contradicts the Hawaii thing, it contradicts the Kenyan thing. And see, that's the way these evil bastards work. They'll give you 3 or 4 bad choices, and you can't find your way to the truth. Well, people can find their way to the truth, and the Marines can lead them, or the Spirit of Christ can lead them. But everyone needs, before they leave this earth, everyone needs to learn what the truth is. And that's one of the parts. That's one of the parts that the 3 of us right now, Kirk, Timothy, and Field, are engaging in. We're making the truth available, and what I'm going to do, and neither Kirk nor Timothy are going to do this. I'm going to do it. I'm going to send them, unless I'm told not to by one of the guys that I'm talking to right now. I fully intend to send this entire radio show to Trump through one single cutout. I think he'll be encouraged. I hope he doesn't watch much of it. But I'm also going to send it up to the East Grand Forks prosecutor named Ronald Irene Gallstone, or whatever the fuck his name is.
Gallstead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't want to be disrespectful. Yeah. I don't think his middle name's Irene, but it's going to be, because he's going to be having an uncommanded urination problem and running down the street like a little sissy girl. So, anything else we need to talk about, Kurt or Timothy?
Well, what I'd like to share, I know you have a lot of viewers out there.
Yeah, I do.
And I would encourage people to check us out on Kirk's Law Corner on Facebook. We're teaching the law as it's written and how to properly redress your grievances, because the First Amendment says we have the right to petition government for the redress of grievances, right?
Yep.
Now, Idaho Constitution, Article 1, Section 10, says we have the right to petition the legislature with the redress of grievances.
Okay.
So here's the lack of knowledge and information that's been, has not been taught in I don't know, a good 70 to 100 years.
Yep.
At least.
Yep.
And it's right in the constitutions. But all political power is inherent in the people. We have the right to alter, reform, or abolish anything at any time we deem it necessary. Constitutions, the law of the land, is literally nothing but processes. Mm-hmm. The process for bringing the president into being, the process for bringing the governor into being, the process for this, the process for Congress to come into being. But there's a process in there for the administration of our government. And we have to go to the legislature, not the judicial, with our grievances.
Okay.
So we've been taught that we go to the judge. Guess who taught that? The bar. They want us to go through the judicial branch where they have all the control. Yep. And they can just deny. We have 97.6% of pro se litigants lawsuits are dismissed. So why? Because that's prima facie evidence of they're denying us our right, but it's not. We don't have the right to go to the judicial branch. We have to go to the legislature, because that's a different process that's due to public servants than is due to your fellow man.
Okay.
So, people need to read their state constitutions. They need to file petitions of remonstrance, and remonstrance is about bad policy or a bad actor in government. Okay, and just check us out. We've been teaching this now for a little over 2 years. So we're trying to get people educated on this process that we go through the legislature for the redress of grievances. And one of the books that like 70% of the states use is called the Mason's Manual of Legislative Procedure. No correlation with the Masons.
Okay.
Although that's what I came up with at first. But read your state's, most people are familiar with criminal rules of procedure, civil rules of procedure, probate rules of procedure, family law rules of procedure. Well, we have House rules of procedure, Senate rules of procedure. Okay? When you read those House and Senate rules, you will find in there what book they use. Now, Mason's Manual of Legislative Procedure is basically the number one used. But there's Jefferson's manual, there's the Reed's manual, and there's the Roberts manual.
Okay.
So there's 4 different books. The Mason's Manual of Legislative Procedure, in the very beginning of it, has the 10 basic principles of group decision making. The first fundamental principle says that the group must have jurisdiction, right, to make that decision. And that sometimes groups take power that they don't have. So fundamentally, principally, because this is 10 principles, they're automatically admitting that sometimes groups assume powers they do not have. So this process, due process of law, we go to the legislature with a petition of remonstrance to redress those sometimes that group has assumed a power they don't have, to keep our government in check. Now, here's another confusing part. All courts are not courts in the judicial branch. The court of justice is in the House and the Senate. Courts of law and courts of equity are in the courts of the United States. That's in the judicial branch, right? Then we have the common law court. See the 7th Amendment. Whatever is heard pursuant to a common law court cannot be heard in any courts of the United States except pursuant to the rules of the common law. So that is a clear distinction between the people's courts at the common law and the courts of the United States. So common law is in law. Suits at law has to do with admiralty jurisdiction, public servants. So in order to do a suit at law, the first step is in the legislature, then it goes to the executive, then it goes to the judicial. There's basically three steps there that are due to them for a suit at law. So this is, that's kind of just a tiny nutshell of what we're trying to teach and educate the people on out there. But Kirk's Law Corner on Facebook, YouTube. Now there's the page, there's the group, and there's the YouTube channel. Not really doing a whole lot with the YouTube stuff yet, but we're working on a website, eclausellc.org, and then another Facebook page and group is eClaus LLC. That's a group. So we have all sorts of documents in the files section. Highly recommend reading the Treatise on Arrest and False Imprisonment, the Handbook on the Common Law Pleadings and Practice. There's so much fun. It's not even funny.
Well, I'll do everything I can to throw as much traffic as I can to you. But as you come to grips with what the Children's Crusade is all about, now you can look at me and judge me like the world would judge me. Okay, does this look like a leader to you?
I actually can't see you, but I have seen, I did catch a couple of your last shows there. So I know I can visually see who you are through those. So, what does a leader look like?
Well, what does a Christian look like?
You shall know them by their actions.
Yeah, I agree. We're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Now, you were enlisted, weren't you, when you were that IT specialist?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
that's my heart is for the enlisted forces of everybody. With I'm aware of officers, but I don't hold them in respect. But you can appreciate this, and you can explain it to Tim later. I got removed from one job because I was too good at it. I was in a Navy training squadron, and I was a scheduler, and I was a Marine captain, and the Navy lieutenant commander, who's my boss, he couldn't believe that I could fly 4 flights a day and write the best schedule of the 4 schedule writers. But that's what the case was. Yeah, so anyway.
I originally signed up to just be a general grunt and go kick some Iraqi ass.
Yeah.
When my ASVAB score came back, they said, your ASVAB score is like off the charts. You have an extremely high mechanical aptitude. We want you in computers. I'm like, what? No, I want to go. They're like, you can still go shoot people.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. So they changed my MOS right from the beginning.
That's the same thing that happened to my father. He signed up to be in the Army as an enlisted man. Back then in 1941, the Army had the airplanes, Army Air Corps, and they tested him, and they said, you know what? It's great that you want to be an aviation armorer, meaning he would work on the cannons and the machine guns on all the military aircraft. They said, you know, if that's all you want to do, you can do that. You know, thanks for your service. But we've determined academically that this is a term I hate. You're officer material, and if you'd be willing to fly for us, we'll train you. And my dad became something special. He's the only man in World War II that shot down a 4-engine airplane from another 4-engine airplane. And I said, my dad, not one of the gunners. My dad had a special modified B-24, and he shot down 2. I'll send this to Timothy tonight if I remember. But there's a very respectful article written in 1995 about my father, and it said, I think it was fabulous 4-engine fighter pilot. So even though my dad, it's just like you and him are interchangeable. You were an infantry rifleman trapped in a computerized guy's body. My dad was a fighter pilot personality trapped in a great big rubber dog shit from Hong Kong 4-engine airplane. But even then, when they shot my father down, they were looking for my dad's airplane, not just any airplane, because he was out there. Yeah, it's probably time to go for Timothy. But my dad, let's forget about my dad. Let's forget about me. What do you need to say, Kurt or Timothy, in the minutes we have left?
I'm good. Just, have faith, folks. There are many things, good things going on in the background. I'm like you. I have certain contacts that we deal with that are very, very, very high up. So I have a pretty good idea of what's going on in the background, including the banking industry, the Reconstruction Acts of 1871 through 1933. There's some stuff that's coming down, folks. Make no mistake.
Yeah, and it's going to be visible, but it's going to be drip, drip, drip over time, because if they released it all tomorrow, a lot of Americans would drown on the information. They couldn't believe the blessing. Yeah. They couldn't believe the blessing of good leadership, because it's never happened that I'm aware of in our history. It
would be so overwhelming. It would literally drive people crazy.
Yeah.
A lot of this stuff's going to have to come out in little tiny bits and pieces. For me, I've been studying law and the history of law over the last 24 years. I've been down many rabbit holes. As soon as Trump come out and announced his candidacy, and I started following him, and I'll be honest, I didn't like Trump to begin with. I kind of despised the guy. I didn't like his attitude and all that good stuff, but, he was running for president, and so he started dropping hints and phrases, and I'm like, well, crap, he knows that, he knows this, he knows this. I'm like, there's no way that, he's not just going to put that out there like that unless he knows. And only those of us that have gone down these rabbit holes and studied this stuff would know what he's talking about, because sometimes it's only one word.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy crap, this guy really knows. So, I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I didn't vote for him. In fact, I didn't vote. I've never really voted at all, because I know what's behind it. But nonetheless, things they're coming. They are changing. And it's going to be little tiny bits and pieces. Some of the banking stuff you're not even going to really know about until it happens.
It's happening right now.
So
I've gotten 4 messages.
It is. Oh, I know.
I've gotten 4 messages since I've been on this radio show, and I've been on this radio show for 3 hours and 47 minutes. I've got 4 messages from an agent I call Lima Charlie, who is very, very highly placed in international finance. And, I'll tell you what, I'll send Timothy an email, and some globally significant historic pockets of wealth have just been opened up for the redemption of the United States Treasury. That's coming out of my mouth, not you or Timothy. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Here's one more thing coming out of my mouth, and not you or Timothy. Everyone believes that Trump won the election in November, and then he was inaugurated on the 20th of January of 2017. They can believe that if they want. Here's my statement of fact, and I don't want you to confirm or deny it because it's probably contrary to the limitations of your job. But it's my opinion that Joseph Dunford became the executive of the United States Republic in September of 2015, and they took the nuclear authority away from the guy from Punahou. And I think the Marines held down the White House until they formed a relationship. Oh, now you're not supposed to agree with me because no.
Oh, I thought. Never mind. Sorry, I was responding to something over there.
Yeah, me too. I sometimes get flies in my eyes when I think about the enemies of God. But you know, there's the flies. Oh, I want to say something totally off script, and we have no script today. I drove, see, I have a lot of vehicles because I want to be visible. I do not want to be invisible. The sheriffs in this county, there's only one sheriff, but all the deputies, I've had 4 meetings, no, 5. In the last 7 days, I've been well served by loyal sheriff's employees. But today, I live 2.5 miles from my office to my home. I had to take 2 of my odd cars home, and I can only drive one, so I had a friend come drive the other one. I saw butterflies in numbers that I have never in my life, and I'm soon to be 70. I've never seen so many butterflies are on one day in one location. Now, I don't know what the significance of a butterfly is, but I know who created butterflies. And the message to me clearly is transmitted through the butterfly population was, you're in good hands, Field. Keep it up.
Right.
And I'll keep it up.
Well,
go ahead.
When God is with us, who can be against us?
No one. And you know where that's written? It's written in Romans 8:31. And it starts, everyone, in fact, I'll do this after you guys fade out. I'll get a Bible out. I don't really need to. I could probably almost dictate it. But the words written in Romans 8:28 through Romans 8:31, and that's right before they say more than conquerors. And we are more than conquerors. You, Kurt, myself, and Timothy, we're more than conquerors because we're servants of God. And in the pecking order, anybody can conquer anybody if you can project more force than they can handle. You know, sort of like Marines. But we're more than conquerors. We're servants of God. And, you know, I'm going to serve
God. Had no other gods before me.
Yeah, and what that usually means is material objects. I'm going to say something now. I'm going to say it in faith, and God will either back me up and make it a fact, or he won't. And that's not, I'm not putting pressure on God. I'm putting faith in God. I think America will see its first trillionaire next week. And most billionaires...
Talking about the United States of America?
That's just a bullet statement. I think America will see its first trillionaire next week. And I would guess that many people who are billionaires weren't necessarily honest, God-fearing men and women. But it may be that a God-fearing man or woman will become the first trillionaire. And the only reason that would serve God is that would show that God has confidence in one man or woman to lead thousands and millions of people to become faithful followers of my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Yep.
So,
well, it was a pleasure to hang out with you here a little bit, and I look forward to meeting you firsthand. So.
Yep, and I'm bringing my Naval Academy ring, and I'm going to place that in your hand. And you're a real Marine, and I'm a Hollywood Marine. So you could keep that, and I couldn't get it back from you. But I've judged you to be something vastly more powerful than a Marine. But, a Marine is powerful enough to end this battle in Timothy's favor. So, Timothy, you're in good hands.
Thanks, Phil.
Okay, can we sign off now?
Yeah, but much love to everybody out there that's paying attention, watching, standing up. I encourage you all to read your constitutions, especially Article 1 of your state constitution.
Okay, and you just said much love, and I'd say much love too, because God wants us to love each other, and God wants us also to love our neighbor just as we in fact love ourselves. And so many people can't love themselves because like in my case, I know all the improper things I've done since I've been, 14. There's only one power on earth that knows more dirt than me, and he's forgiven me. So
Right.
it's okay for me to love myself. It's okay for me to love my neighbor. Go ahead. You speak.
To err is human.
Yeah.
There ain't no man on the face of this earth is perfect.
Yeah.
So,
So anyway, you and I will do business again, Kurt, when you're free of this assignment and your schedule's not bound by Timothy's needs. Then you've got carte blanche to come on my radio show. It's not really a radio show, but I've got 100,000 or more listeners. And see, I would broadcast, if I just thought one bad guy would listen, I'd do this. Because we can't educate 7.5 billion, but we can scare 3,000. And believe me, we've done it with this brief hour and a half together.
yeah, well, look at the Declaration of Independence. It was only signed by 56 men.
Yeah, and so that would take about 17 Marines. So anyway, the Marines have landed. Some people that are richly deserving of a little remuneration for their evil. I didn't say corruption. I said evil. You touch one child and we'll have your ass. And so many judges are pedophiles and attorneys. So
Walk that line of purgatory.
Yeah. Well, okay. Thank you very much for your time. I greatly respect you as I greatly respect Timothy, and I'm no respecter of man, and neither is God. But, God knows a good soul when he sees one, and so do I. So,
And that's why I answered the call to come to his aid in defense.
well, good. I can't wait to meet you in Grand Forks. And we just to show people that we're not afraid of them, we can pretend like we're afraid of them. And you could call me and say, be the 17th vehicle to come through the stoplight when it turns green at the corner of Grand Forks and East Grand Forks, and just stop briefly and I'll hop in. We can play that cloak and dagger bullshit, but we don't have to. We serve God, we serve Timothy, and we serve justice, and we serve all these things in the spirit of love. Okay?
Yep. Much love, brother.
Yes, much love to you too, brother. Semper Fi. Talk to you later.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.